and thank you for joining Carrie Rios and myself, Amber Tripp, on our very first series of podcasts for Clark College Community and Continuing Education. By the way, that is a very big mouthful. I'm surprised I'm still getting it right. We wanted to celebrate our instructors and interrogate them as to what their classes are about, who they are, and kind of give a taste for students coming on board and the community so that they know what is out there and what you guys offer. So without further ado, Garland, I'm going to have you introduce yourself with your name and the class that you teach here at Clark College CCE.
My name is Garland Holt. I've been here for over 10 years, and the class I'm teaching this fall is Language of DNA, Genetics, and Genealogy.
So the big giveaway was the big, huge DNA behind you.
Oh yes, yeah, right. That's a giveaway, isn't it?
It's a very big foreshadowing of your class. Yes.
let me. The term language. Let me explain that.
Please do.
You notice behind me, that's the DNA molecule, greatly enlarged, of course. You notice it looks like it's called a double helix. You've heard that term before. It's like a ladder that's been twisted. Sort of like you've seen these ladders that go like this.
Sure.
Well, that's what it is.
The curlicue staircase that I want to go up to my library when I have a big house.
Yeah, there. When you have your dream house.
Yeah,
that one. Actually, those stairs are very dangerous, but never mind.
I'll put safety rails on them.
Oh, that's good. Okay. You see those? See the steps in that ladder?
I do.
Well, those are called bases, and there are 4 different bases, and the sequence.
Kind of like baseball.
No, base is a type of chemical. It's okay.
Not like baseball.
Not like baseball, unfortunately, or football.
Well, baseball only has bases. I mean, there's 4 of them: first, second, third, and home.
Okay, there we go. There's 4 bases, and the sequence of the bases are very important. Just like in baseball, you can't go from first to fourth without going through the other ones.
See, there is a baseball connection.
Yes, there is. But get this, the sequence of these bases is the coding behind DNA. That's what tells the cell how to work.
How to make my hair brown.
How to make your hair brown. How to make you always staying young like you are.
That's the hope.
Actually, there is a gene called the Foxo gene that keeps you young.
Is it?
Anyway,
really?
Yes.
Then my parents definitely have it, so therefore I inherited it.
Oh, you hope so.
Oh, no, I did. I'm in my mid-40s. So
okay, you see, you notice the knowledge that just in a few minutes we've poured out about this?
I know, and we have so many more minutes to go. I'm excited.
Now, the sequence, it's got 4 bases, and it's the sequence of those bases that determines the coding of the molecule, of the cell. Now, interesting, if you compare it to computers, I assume some of you are familiar with that the computer has 2 states, off and on, 0 and 1.
Okay.
So the coding is 0, 1, 0, 1. You know, it's the sequence of these zeros and 1 that tells the computer, for example, our computers right now, what we're doing.
Sure.
But it's only 2. We got 4 with DNA.
Well, I mean, you could argue that and say you have on, off, and sleep for your computer.
Well, that's off.
Well, sort of. It's still performing some function in the background.
Anyway, it's very complex. But in addition to that, the term language means the terms that are used in genetics and even in genealogy. And in my class, I hope to make some of these terms clear. For example, do you know the meaning of a messenger RNA?
No, but I bet you're going to tell me.
Well, you've heard about the vaccines that you probably took for the pandemic. Which one did you take? Did you take the Pfizer or
I took the
Moderna?
non-FDA approved one, double dose.
Okay.
That would be Moderna.
The Pfizer or the Moderna?
Moderna, yeah.
Moderna and the Pfizer uses what is called messenger RNA. Rather than inserting in your cell a piece of the virus, what this technology does is insert a messenger RNA that tells your computer, in other words, your cell, which is like a computer, to produce antibodies.
It's very clever.
It's very clever. And in fact, it's brand new. There's the first two antivirus vaccines that were developed using this technology, and there's great promise for AIDS, for cancer, for the common cold, etc., etc.
Wow.
So in our class, I will go into this technology.
Okay. That's awesome. I just learned something new today. What inspired you to actually teach this kind of class?
A number of things.
Okay.
Number of things. The ongoing discoveries in the field of genetics and DNA inspire me, and the pandemic itself. The source of the illness, the development of the vaccine. There has been so much misinformation.
Sure.
And what are we to believe? Well, first of all, we have to believe the science. And if you don't know the science, what are you believing?
Yeah.
The purpose of my class is to talk about the science.
Okay. That's awesome, because you're right. There's a lot of misinformation, and it'd be nice to have the actual scientific data to, back up your argument if you have one.
I don't know about you, but when I took high school and even college science, some of this knowledge wasn't in those classes.
Mine neither. And to be honest, when I was in college, I really just wanted to skate by my science requirements because I am not a science major. Surprise! I'm on the other side. I've got a BA in music. So I didn't want to learn any of the science. So I took oceanography at the community college where I lived. It was fascinating.
Oceanography is.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a whole university down in California on that.
Yeah.
San Diego.
But you're right. This stuff wasn't taught in any of those classes. And I don't even know if it's taught today.
You need to know this in order just to read the newspaper.
Oh, about DNA?
Yeah. Of course, do you read the newspaper? Or go on Facebook?
Well, I do go on Facebook because I have to. But I don't read the newspaper. However, I do read news articles, and I always read them with my eyebrow cocked up because I'm like, I don't know. Is that real?
Well, that's the purpose of the class.
Yeah. So this is awesome. Were you always interested in this kind of field? In the study?
Well, not always. My degrees are in psychology.
Okay.
But my education and outside reading, I often would hit upon the science of genetics. In fact, at one time, I actually bred a unique aquarium fish using the techniques of genetics.
No kidding.
It was a guppy, but that particular color and body shape of guppy never existed before I bred it.
Wow.
Also, I found in my family, now we're switching over to genealogy, a lot of absent of information.
Okay.
Who my great-great-grandfather was, what did he do, what was his education, if any, did he read or not read, and I am the family genealogist.
Okay.
I've taken my family back to the Roman Empire.
Wow.
So I know a lot of skeletons in my family. And one of the things in our class is we're going to discuss some of my skeletons.
Oh, well, I'm taking your class just for that, then.
For example, my grandmother killed her husband, otherwise my grandfather.
Well, that was not very kind.
Yeah, but in Arkansas in 1920, there wasn't much law enforcement, okay? But he deserved it, to be honest with you.
Well, then it's totally okay.
Yeah. But
I'm not, for the record, I am not condoning murdering somebody on this podcast, for the record.
Okay, but she was she made bootleg liquor.
Well, amen, sister.
And by the way, she had the best bootleg liquor in the entire state of Arkansas. Now, that's a statement from the Sheriff's Department of Arkansas.
Wow, direct from the sheriff's mouth.
Yes, right. In fact, in the sheriff's mouth.
Uh-huh.
But, so these are skeletons.
Yeah.
That I will discuss in my family. I don't consider them negative, but they're funny. But every family has skeletons.
Sure. Well, it is what it is, right? It's what happened in the history of your family. You can't change it. All you can do is move forward and see where you fit in.
Now, I have taught several classes at Clark, including on genetics, about 5 years ago.
Uh-huh.
I also taught a class on human evolution. So this is an update of those classes.
Well, I don't want to really get into the human evolution because that could be a really hot topic of discussion versus creationism versus evolutionism. So
that was a subject of that class, by the way.
Well,
in the future, you're going to see me proposing a human evolution class at Clark.
Okay, but I still refuse that I came from a monkey. So I don't know. I mean,
we didn't come from a monkey.
But
you came from an ape.
Oh, okay.
That better?
No.
actually, Amber, you came, and the ape came from the same animal.
Okay. Well, I came from my parents, so I'm okay with that.
Okay. You know anything about your grandparents?
I do. They died.
What did they die of?
Well, they died fairly recently, so in the last 5 or 6 years. My grandfather on my mom's side died of Parkinson's and complicated with something else. And then my grandma, I think she just died of a broken heart.
Did you know Parkinson's is a genetic disease?
I do. That's very frustratingly annoying. It's a very sad topic. Can we change the topic now?
Okay, we'll change the topic. We're going to talk about genetic diseases in this particular class. For example, male pattern baldness, which I do not suffer.
No, you do not. You have very, very lovely head of hair.
I know. But you see, male pattern baldness comes from one's mother.
Well, okay. Well,
does
that
not
would
suffer
explain my
it.
brother.
Is your brother bald?
Well, he is now, but he was losing his hair anyway, so he just shaved it off.
That gene came from his mother.
Which did it come from? If it came from my mother, then did it come from her mother or her father?
No, it came from her father.
Well, that would explain it because that's what happened to Grandpa. He was bald at like 27.
See, that particular gene lives on one of the sex chromosomes.
It's such a fascinating topic. I mean, I could learn about this all day long, but unfortunately we have limited time. So I'm going to ask you another question, if you don't mind.
Good. What's the next question?
The next question I want to know is, who would this class be designed for? Like, who would your ideal student be?
This class is designed for the person who wants to understand his or her reading about DNA, about genetics, and the recent problems of the pandemic. Also, if you want to learn about the roots of your family, where you came from, and understand the results of a DNA test, take the class.
Awesome. Sold. Wait, can I sign up? I'm going to sign up for literally every single class we've talked about today. Because they're all fascinating.
Are you old enough?
To take a class? Yes. I'm old enough.
Don't look old enough.
Barely, but yeah.
Next question.
So tell me a couple things that one or two things, you can be one or two, whatever. Things that people maybe are considering taking it, but they haven't hit the button yet. What would you tell them? What would get them over that fear of hitting the button? Say yes, enroll now.
Take the first session.
Take the first session. Just do it. So
just do it.
Just do it. Okay.
Just do it. It's it's not designed for the person who is interested in science. It's designed for the common individual who wants a quick trip into the science.
Okay, so that's good to know, because if I as a person would read that, I'm like, well, that's too science for me. But thank you for breaking it down for the average person who just wants to get a little quick glimpse of what's going on in now or in their past, personally, or COVID.
Amber?
Yes.
Do you wish to learn how you came into being? What parts of you came from your family? What illnesses that you might have in the future? Who and what your family background was? Where they came from? What they were? The skeletons in your family? How to document them? Would you like your DNA tested? Would you like to know where to go to get a good DNA test?
Yes, because I don't want a fake one. I don't know if those are out there, but there's fake
There
ones.
are those out there. Well, then take the class.
Perfect. I love it. This is great. Do you have any other little nuggets you want to share before we call it a wrap?
Come take the class. Everybody. It's not going to be hard to understand the material because I'm going to talk at a very basic level.
Okay.
I have movies, I have videos to play.
Awesome.
And design, little things like this ladder behind me.
Awesome. So bring your popcorn, folks, and sign up for the language of DNA, genetics, and genealogy. So wait, really quick before we sign off, because Carrie and I were discussing this yesterday. Why is it genealogy and not genealogy?
I don't know. Did I misspell it maybe?
No. I'm going to have to Google it. Why is it genealogy instead of genealogy?
As to genealogy, therefore, I have a family tree that dates back to the Roman Empire. I will actually, in the last session of the class, go into Ancestry.com, which is the big database, and I will show them how to use it.
Awesome. You actually used Ancestry.com?
I use it every day.
Awesome. Do you have any fear about your DNA being shared somehow and getting leaked out? Because I know that is a concern for some folks.
We will also be talking about that.
Oh, okay.
Because law enforcement recently has found the DNA database is very useful in finding criminals.
I would imagine so, because everything is DNA based. Ever since they figured out how to track that,
I have no fear because I'm not a criminal.
Neither am I.
Well, then why should we fear it? Okay?
Yeah. I think it's more the people are concerned that their DNA would somehow get into somewhere where it would be used in a way that should not be used.
Oh, that's one of the subjects. It's called the ethics of DNA.
Okay. Perfect.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the fears that people have. But even then, there are laws about the privacy of DNA knowledge. But wouldn't you like your doctor to know your DNA so your treatment and your care and your medicines will be custom designed for you?
Heck yeah. Sounds like a plan to me.
Yes.
Yes, I love it. I love everything about this class. Thank you, Garland. First of all, thank you so much for coming on here and sharing a little bit about DNA and giving us an insight to your class and what it's about. You can sign up for the language of DNA, genetics, and genealogy online at cce.clark.edu. Make sure you click on classes, and I believe it's under afternoon academics. If you don't want to go online, that's okay. You just call 360-992 2939, and someone will help you register for the class. You'll find the most up-to-date information on the website, the who, the what, the where, the when, the cost, the how, everything is on there. So just go right online and check it out. One more time, Garland, thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate your insight and your knowledge about DNA and genetics and the genealogy side of it. And I really hope that a lot of people are inspired by this and actually sign up to take the class.
It's also the cheapest class.
Well, there's that too. Save $1 and learn something, folks. Thank you so much. We'll take care and see you on the flip side.